Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back to some more bite-sized business advice, and we have my personal favorite type of episode today, and that is a success story or a journey story. I love hearing over the number of entrepreneurs that we've interviewed how everybody got to this very moment. It's always inspiring, it's insightful, it's eye-opening, and it probably scares a lot of people away from entrepreneurship. But outside of that, we're here to dive into a very unique story, a 25-year journey of building a business by accident. Is that fair to say? With a very unique guest. So welcome, Paul, to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate being on. I'm looking forward to talking.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear your story and unpack this. So you have not only a unique story, you have a unique niche, if you will, a background. Tell me how this all started 25 years ago.
Sure. So when I was in grad school, this is way back in 1996, more than 25 years now, I had some free time. And so I started building web pages and really learning how this whole HTML and, internet worked. And I built two web pages back then. One, I built something about Star Wars toy collecting, and, still got the Star Wars hat on, and you can see my stuff back there, and I've got Star Wars all over the office. I love that. But this was in 1996. There were no prequels. There was no Disney owning Star Wars. It was just the kids that had collected Star Wars toys in the 70s and 80s. So didn't get a lot of traffic. But I also at the time was learning more about Native American powwows. I had people that were taking me to powwows, helping me learn how to make the regalia, learn what it all meant. And so I built some pages kind of just sharing what I was learning and putting that out there. And that took off from the beginning. It was the community. People wanted a way to continue feeling that sense of community and sense of togetherness at the powwow online. And the community really, started to grow from there. And that's kind of where it went. We didn't, I never started out to think this would be a business. It was only until we, started having expenses that I had to figure out ways to, try to make money at it. And, you said something in the intro there is, this is, I've been on this journey for a long time, and how you define success to me over these 25 years has changed. Right. And while I was working a full-time job all this time and kind of doing it on the side, for us, that the success for us just meant that it gave us freedom to do some traveling, things like that. Now success is different in that I'm able to retire from that job and do this full time. So it's a little bit different. So I think how people measure the success over their journey can change, but I think it also, people need to have realistic expectations. That's one of the things I had to learn along the way.
Yeah, I think that's what probably gets most people is, regardless of where they are in their journey, the expectations versus, how quickly they achieve them.
Right.
That's probably why most people quit, because it's not easy. It's not easy to build anything, whether it's a side hustle, a business, a side hustle you want to turn into a business that's full-time for you. It's a journey. And that's the whole thing, is defining what that journey is for you and appreciating the steps along the journey. So I'm glad you took that approach, because most don't. And I want to hear kind of what those different steps were. So as the expenses really are what triggered needing to make money, which makes complete sense. So what was that? Like, first of all, how many years ago was that you started to monetize it? And what did that look like in the early days?
I mean, the first probably 5-7 years, it was all, it wasn't a business, right? It was I just paid for stuff personally. And somewhere in those first few years, we started having expenses. I remember girlfriend at the time, wife now, I remember the conversation we had in college, in grad school, and saying, hey, I think I should buy this domain name, but it's really expensive. It was $75 back then. And that was going to be a big swing for me, is that, to spend the $75 to buy powwows.com. So, in the first few years, it was just, my own money, own expenses. But as we started to have, needed to get bigger servers. And, back then we had forum software. And so that had a cost to it. And if the servers that you needed to put that on to run, because we had a very active forum, got bigger and bigger. And so that's kind of where we had to figure out, whether it was getting sponsorships or Powwow's hiring us to come in and do live streaming. Those were some of the first things we kind of looked at and tried to figure out how we could monetize this.
Yeah, that's super cool. And I'm curious, just for context, what can you define what a powwow is?
Sure. Powwow is a Native American celebration. They happen for all kinds of reasons. They can be, just an annual tribal gathering, like a homecoming. It can be for celebrations of weddings, birthdays. And a lot of them nowadays are contest powwows. The dancers and singers compete. So when you go to a powwow in the arena, you're going to see dancing, singing. A lot of times you'll see it by different categories. So the men, of a certain style will dance, and another group of men will dance, the women will dance, and they're competing. Then outside of that, of course, you're going to have lots of vendors selling crafts and food and all kinds of stuff. So it's really a total cultural immersion experience. But yeah, it's like a festival with all focused on Native culture.
That's super cool. Do people of all cultures come to that, or is it mostly Native American?
Powwows are open to the public on powwows.com. We do have a calendar, and we list hundreds of them every year. There's one in every state. There's one in almost every Canadian province. So you can find a powwow near you. They are totally open to the public. Some do sell tickets, the bigger ones, but most are free. And you can take your family and have a great time really learning about the culture and seeing some things that are totally unique.
Yeah, that's super cool. I've never heard of it, but that's exciting.
Yeah.
So you've got past the covering expenses portion. When did you start to realize, like, okay, there's something here, I can potentially turn this into a business, or at least I can make a little bit more money doing this?
Yeah, it was probably, after that 7-8 year that I knew that this could be, I never thought I could go full time. Right. It was always a dream that, like, well, maybe one day we'll have, enough revenue that we can go full time. But in the back of my mind, I was like, it's okay. I'm working a good job. I've got great flexibility. It's fine. It's enough. We're generating enough that we're covering expenses, gives us a little bit of extra money. We can, take the family on trips, that kind of thing. That's really where we were in the kind of in that 8-9 year mark is when we started figuring that out. And we went for a long time making, okay money, enough to stay afloat. Right. There were some years we didn't turn a profit in those first 15 so years. And, eventually we grew more traffic, and, I figured out how to work with some other people. We got into an ad network. Those kind of things happened. Our Google monetization and other things, as you start to grow, those things start adding up. And it was eventually, well, thanks to having a state pension and having a part of my salary for the rest of my life now, working so many years, I was able to then finally make that transition and go full time.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I love that it's a very specific thing. It obviously came from a passion of yours.
Yeah.
What I always wonder when people are in passion-based businesses is the loss of passion, because there's the business aspect to it. Has that ever happened for you along this journey?
Yeah, I mean, of course it happens for seasons. Maybe it'll be a few weeks or a couple of months that you kind of get burned out. Sometimes at an event, there'll be, we're sitting there for hours and hours behind a camera. There are times you're just like, oh my God, I'm just tired. Right. But then, you have moments that re-inspire you. For 2 weeks ago, I was at the biggest powwow of the year, Gathering of Nations. And when you're standing there and you see 2,000 people dancing together at the same time with the singing, that's something you just don't get to see all the time. And that, and that was my 20th year going to Gathering of Nations. That was really emotional. That, fed into, really helping recharge some batteries. But then it's also hearing from people, when I get emails from somebody that says, hey, I'm not able to travel as much anymore. I'm gotten older. And thank you so much. This weekend, I was able to watch my family dance. Those kind of things really help, because there are long days. This is, especially when I was still working full time, doing this at night and on weekends and at lunch hours and before work, those days do get long.
Yeah, I mean, it adds up, especially when
Yeah.
you're passionate about it, but you have other responsibilities, right? Even
Right.
even now, the work still adds up and can always take from the passion. But I love that you're able to see through it and always come back to. It sounds like why you started the business in the first place.
Yeah. I just love going to them and seeing, the connections and just the spirit of the powwow. It will recharge you no matter who you are. It's a great thing. You don't walk away with good feelings.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm also curious because in this country, Native American culture is something we study in elementary school, middle school, but it's really not talked about and
Yeah.
it's not celebrated.
No.
And quite frankly, I grew up in New Jersey. I'm in North Carolina now. Outside of the couple times I've been to Arizona and southern Utah, like you really don't even see anything about it. And I'm curious the Midwest too, but I'm curious, like, what is your business like? What kind of an impact has your business had on Native American culture in this country?
I mean, I hope we are able to shine the spotlight. One of our missions is to help elevate the level of understanding, the level of appreciation. And I think when we do that, we really help Native artists and Native craftspeople and Native businesses. Um, During the pandemic, for example, we knew a lot of vendors who depend on going to these powwows week in and week out. There were no powwows, so they weren't able to travel. So we started a directory of Native owned business. We call it Shop Native. And we're still doing that today. We're trying to add as many businesses into that directory and using our platform to, help, elevate these people up and say, here's a really cool business. They're doing this. Maybe, not necessarily all of them are, Native products, but they're owned by Native people. And so we're really trying to help do that. And I think the more we can do that, the better people are. I hope we're helping. I saw a quote, and I don't remember exactly what it is, but basically Jacques Cousteau said the more you educate people on something and the better the understanding, the more they'll appreciate it. And the more they appreciate it, the more they're protected. So that's really been my mission, is if we can help educate people and show them what Native culture is and that it is still here and that tribes are still existing and Native people are still out there, then I think we can really help protect all the issues and have a better understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a beautiful quote too, and it's so applicable.
Yeah.
Um, I want to look at the future and how you're going to grow this, but I'm also curious. I love to hear the different ways people have monetized their business and the different ways they make money. I think it gives us as the listener some inspiration, maybe some new ideas, things we haven't talked about or heard of. So for you and your business, what are the different ways you've monetized your business and those different revenue streams you have?
Oh, there's a lot. So to start with, putting ads on the website. We are now in the Mediavine network, and there's a couple of networks like Raptive, I think is another one. They used to be AdThrive. So those networks really help, and they kind of take care of selling your inventory. We also sell direct ads, so we have some sponsors that buy directly from us. That helps. Powwows bring us in, and they'll hire our crew to come in and stream their powwows. That's another one. And then, of course, we're doing things like what am I trying to say? We've got ads in newsletters and email. We're doing affiliate, Amazon Associates, all the affiliate stuff too. And then, still, I still work a lot of side hustles too, and doing, business coaching or other things too, to make the ends meet. So there's a lot of ways we anything out there that we can find to do it. I'm on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really interesting. I mean, that's why I like to hear it, because it's such a unique business that any one of those things that you just said could apply to someone who's listening and
Right.
they never would have thought about it. So I appreciate you sharing that. So then looking forward, I am curious because it's a beautiful mission, and what you're doing is so important, especially for Native culture, but also, like you said, for everybody to have more knowledge, more understanding of our country's history, really, and who are we rubbing shoulders with that we may not even know about, and what is their culture like. I think that's the beautiful piece, the beautiful part of this country, and what it was supposed to be founded on, at least. But where are you taking this business? What's your goal over the next 3 to 5 years?
At this point, growth is great, and we'll continue to grow, our platforms on social media and things like that. At this point, what I'm concentrating on is making sure that the people that are in our newsletter, that subscribe to us, the people that follow us on social media, that we deepen those connections. Growth will be, a byproduct of that. But that's what we're trying to do is refine our content. We've done a lot of, we published a lot of articles. So I've gone through and over the last few months, I've done a lot of pruning, a lot of revamping, making sure that we're putting out the best thing we can, not necessarily producing a whole lot of new content, but really revising the content we have. We're putting a lot of effort into making sure that our calendar and how we promote powwows across the country, that is as best we can do. That takes a lot of work and a lot of effort, a lot of time put into that. So that's something we'll continue doing. So that's really our focus right now.
Yeah, I think that's everything you were just saying too about building the relationships. Not a lot of businesses do that well. So you actually have a tool for us, or a download for the listeners that I'd love for you to talk about. It's at paulgowder.com/email tools. Tell me how you came up with this and who should download it.
One of the cores of powwows.com to me is community. And I think a lot of people miss this in their business, but my email list is really the heart of my community. Now we have over 1 million followers on Facebook, and that is community, but I don't consider that the heart of our community. The heart of our community really is our email subscribers. And I treat them like, they are like they're in a group, like they're in a Facebook group, right? We're having conversation in email. I'm asking questions. I'm sharing with them. I'm talking very direct to them. And so growing my email list has been, over the last 5 years or so, that has been a major change in how we do business and our focus and how we connect with them. So the email tools, that's some of the ways I've been able to grow our email list. And that is a huge, huge benefit when I'm able to actually talk directly to people. It's so incredible.
Yeah, that's super powerful. And that's, like you said, it's something that most people neglect. They think their email list is just one big sales list that they spam with stuff. I love that you take the relationship building and community building aspect to that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I love it. We have lots of different sequences. And so we take people kind of through a journey or a series of emails. One of them is if you're new to powwows and you don't know what to do and you're kind of, anxious about it, we have a whole email series of what to expect at your first powwow. And we go through what it means, what the etiquette is, what you can bring, what you don't bring, all that kind of stuff, how to find a powwow near you. And in that, I ask a lot of questions to them. And it is so much fun every day to check my inbox and, see people, they'll respond and they're excited and they're looking forward to their first powwow. And then a couple weeks later, you may get an email back and saying, hey, we went. And here's what we did, and here's what we found. A lot of times people will send me pictures. Those are so great. I mean, and that's what email is about, right? It's not about just shouting at your people. Go do that on Twitter. Email is really about having those conversations directly, and it's so much fun. I love that part of my day.
That's so awesome. Yeah, if you're curious about how Paul does that, go check this out. It's on the screen. It's in the show notes. And if you want to find a powwow near you, what'd you say it was? Powwows.com?
Powwows.com. We got a calendar right there. You can find one.
That's awesome. Go check that out. We'll make sure to put that in the show notes as well. Paul, this has been awesome. Super cool interview and to hear your story. I love to, at the end of these episodes, leave the listeners with a little tiny gift, if you will. And you can see behind me, there's a giant upside down question mark. We love questions, and at What If, we believe that powerful questions get you powerful answers. So in terms of, it sounds like you are a community building expert, or a relationship building expert, really. What is the question you would have the listener ask to themselves so that they can walk away from this episode and think about it for the rest of the day, the rest of the week, in terms of building a community and a relationship with their customers?
One of the things that's helped me the most, especially like we're talking about email, is finding out what your audience, what your listeners, what your readers, what they're really wanting to know, and finding the best way to deliver value and deliver content on those questions, on those concerns. And once you do that, then you're going to really see things explode. It's not about, always pumping out an SEO article or, making a TikTok that's going to get 10,000 clicks, right? You've got to figure out, even if it doesn't get but 100 views on YouTube or whatever, if it resonates with those 100 people, then it's massive. So figure out what it is, what are they really looking for, and deliver that and do it over and over again. And that's where you'll get the value in those relationships.
Amen. That's beautiful. Well, Paul, thank you for being here. This is a fantastic interview.
Thank you.
For those of you watching, listening, wherever you are, go check out all that Paul provided you in the show notes down below in the description. We'll link to everything. You can go find a powwow near you. You can download the email list building tools that he has for you. And we want to see you on the next episode of Harmonious at Lunch. So make sure you subscribe. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Thanks for